Finding a mentor is a low-cost, simple and effective leadership development method. We asked leaders in development to discuss some of the possible barriers to accessing a mentor and to suggest how these can be overcome.
From a personal perspective, without wanting to sound self-promoting, a lot of what I've done has been a first. So there are many times I could look back on my career and think, gosh, I wish I had a mentor then, or had I have had someone, I may have done this differently. But I did have a lot of people who supported me, but there was nobody in some areas who'd gone before in the type of work I was doing and in the context I was doing. So one of the barriers was a context one. So no shortage of content type experts or mentors, no shortage of people who were personally committed to me and to mentoring me. But some of the issues around politics, around engagement issues in an Indigenous community, I had to navigate on my own. And it's fair to say it can get very lonely. And one of the barriers is just not knowing where to go, because it's not like there is a bank of people that one could call on and could support the development of. Fortunately, we've got a generation now, I think, of leaders who we are starting to be able to both critically need to inform the next generation, but to support as well. So one of the barriers from my own experience has been very much a context one, but some of the others are gender related, particularly as an Indigenous female leader in a male-dominated, non-Indigenous profession. They're few and far between, and sometimes that can be very lonely too.
Yeah, I think there are sometimes quite significant challenges to finding a mentor. In my particular case, as I mentioned earlier, I'm the only sociologist in the research department, so there wasn't like a senior sociology guy I could go to when I first joined the bank. And here in Malaysia, there's no one's ever tried to do this before. No one's ever set up a research office from the World Bank outside of Washington. So there was nobody in the staff association or some other trusted mentor I could go to and say, so what was it like when you set up a research office in Thailand or in Chad or something? There wasn't anybody. So though I guess I've been very conscious throughout my career. I've always been the first person to do whatever it is I'm doing. But that doesn't mean I didn't need mentors, or that doesn't mean I didn't seek them out either.
Finding a mentor, and over time finding different mentors over different stages of your career as a developing manager is so important. But I've certainly encountered the barriers to how I can achieve that, how I can find that mentor. For me, there's two key barriers. One is my innate reservation to impose myself on other people, especially more senior people in an organisation. And the other is about my own time investment. One of the unavoidable aspects of working for an international NGO or any NGO is that we're always trying to achieve a lot more than is possible with the resources available. So the idea of taking an hour out every week to sit and chat and reflect with someone is kind of terrifying. And so that kind of holds me back often from seeking that opportunity to learn and to grow and to stretch myself through the wisdom of others. I'd say there's also a challenge on the other side of the mentor-mentee relationship as well. And that is to actually be a mentor requires the kind of skill and experience that doesn't necessarily come naturally to many people. It takes experience as a mentor to learn how to hold back on providing, spoon-feeding what you think is the right solution to a person's situation. To be able to coax out of someone their own exploration of their issues so that they can help start identifying some of their own strategies that fit their style and fit their comfort zones. And so that can actually hold people back from accepting a mentoring kind of role as well. So the barriers kind of exist on both sides.
So the question about barriers to mentorship and how you would overcome these is very apt, especially for women. So much of the time, perhaps we're not expecting people to ask us whether they can be mentors, but almost there's an assumption that someone will come up and they will explicitly say that they're going to mentor you, and it doesn't happen like that. I think when I was younger, I really, I was listening to friends or other colleagues talk about their mentor or mentor this, and I was thinking, well, actually, why don't I have a mentor? But when I looked around and I saw actually who was helping me and who was supporting me, and it's in these, informal situations that you can find these mentors. The barriers obviously could be your own barriers, for example, feeling not confident enough to ask them or approach them, or them not having enough time. But I think you'd be surprised by who is willing to help you and who is willing to give you the time to answer questions. I learned this best when I was in the States, and they have a really great, I think, culture of giving forward, because they know that so many people have helped them. And they even have a name for taking people out to coffee and asking them questions about their experiences. And this is called informational interviews. So if you Google informational interviews, you'll actually find a lot of advice and guidance on how to conduct one of these. And it's from this informational interview or this initial coffee that's a step-off point for forming a more consistent and formal mentoring relationship. Also, it's up to you to take this forward as well, especially if another person is busy. You can't rely on them to keep following up, and just being genuine and not feeling entitled to their advice, but just being gracious about it, I think would be helpful too.
I think that mentoring is such a valuable tool, but it can be so difficult to use it when we're so time poor. And I think that we really value professional development that's quite quantifiable. So, particular courses or particular skills that we can really look to, whereas it's more difficult to say, I was mentored by an incredible person and showcase that. I think that the best way to overcome this is if organisations and institutions have structures in place that promote the importance of mentoring, and perhaps even have a structured program where people can sign up for it rather than having to be self-driven around it. I think another big issue is I think a lot of people often don't feel like they're skilled enough to be a mentor. So the benefit of a structured program is that you can, coach a mentor on how to be a good mentor, show people what good mentoring looks like, and have a framework around that people can kind of monitor their own performance as a mentor as well as being a mentee. I think that if you're struggling to find an opportunity to ask someone to be a mentor, it can be really helpful to have a really specific issue that you need to solve, rather than feeling like you need general support or, general coaching on your career. It can be really helpful to pick a particular topic that you're passionate about or that you think you could use an outside perspective, and ask someone to assist you with that, partly because it gives them a really clear, time-bound project size outcome that they can give you. And it also helps you to feel like you're asking something specific rather than just vaguely saying, I feel like I'm, needing general support and advice. I think that that's a really good way to approach it, so that you're comfortable, and so that a potential mentor is comfortable supporting you as well.
Yes, I have had a mentor, and I still have a mentor. She was my former supervisor or line manager at one of my previous roles. Somebody, a fellow woman, somebody who I appreciated her work values, how she related with colleagues, how she worked with colleagues, and I did learn quite a bit from her. So I still engage her quite a bit on a regular basis. So for me, the mentoring side, because it's very difficult, I find it very difficult I'm a person, and so my professional and personal life are very much intertwined. So it's very difficult to project one personality at the workplace and one personality on your personal life, because then you don't live up to who you are. So I am a whole person, and my values and everything are shown in my professional life and in my personal life. So she continues to be quite a huge influence in my life. I talk to her about areas, whether
good things or challenging things that may be happening to me at the work front and at times even on the personal front. And that is somebody who helps me shape and guide me in terms of where I want to go. She's been very good at challenging me in terms of, okay, this is where you are right now, but where do you want to be in a number of years? When you look back, where do you want to be? How do you feel that you've grown as an individual, or how do you feel that you've not grown? Because that contributes to me as a holistic person, both at work and at home in that sense. So I believe that in terms of leadership and in terms of a mentor, she's played a very key role to me in that sense. So in the last few years, I've had the opportunity to work very closely with the youth. So these are upcoming young males and young females, and helping them think about their educational background, their career aspirations and goals, where they want to be in the few years, and have pointed out or have helped them think through what it is that they want to do. So it has been to simple things like applications they've submitted, or they've developed applications, and I've looked at them and helped them give feedback, or opened up opportunities where opportunities may have come through. I've helped them maybe prepare for interview processes by helping them self-reflect, things they need to think about, or it has been opportunities that I have come across and I've passed them on to them and asked them, have you thought about this from our last conversation? This would be a good opportunity for you. Maybe you could think through an application. And it hasn't, for me, it has been an open conversation. So it has not been scheduled. For some of them, because of differences in terms of where we live, it hasn't necessarily been physical sit-down sessions, but it has always been, okay, you can always get in touch with me through social media, through WhatsApp, through an email. We can have a Skype conversation. So leaving that door open. So it has been that opportunity for me as well to give my experiences. And a lot of my experiences when I've been mentoring young people have not been that you should do this. It has been also a process of me of self-reflecting. So 3, 4, 10 years ago, maybe I was in the same situation as you. This is how I went through it. Would I have done it differently? Perhaps. And giving that element of reflecting from my past. So that is what I have been working with, especially young people who've come to me in terms of a mentoring situation.
So another thing that I would say I would do as a mentee, trying to get the attention of a mentor that I was interested in working with or getting to know, would be to volunteer for something that they were doing or they cared about, and be involved in a practical way. So it's not just sort of sitting down and having conversations or emailing in a very sort of abstract way, but saying, oh, I know that you're researching on XYZ. I'm very happy to help with some research, And that way you sort of learn something as well as build a relationship with this person. I find it a more natural way, and I try to do that with some of my mentees. So I do a bit of consulting work for the World Bank, sometimes UNICEF. A lot of it entails going through data, and I try and involve them. They might or might not be interested in what we're researching, but it's still interesting. It's about Nigeria. They're learning stuff, and we get to be in the same room together, get to know each other more. So for me, I find that a more natural way of building a relationship with someone. And so for me, that would also be my advice. Like, find out what the other person, especially if you're the mentee. The mentors can sort of get their pick of whoever they want to mentor. You don't really have that luxury, so you might want to put yourself out there. And then, of course, as a mentor, I would say, show keen interest and, be honest. If there's sometimes in my life when I just can't take any more, and I'm honest, I don't want to waste anybody's time. I just say, this is really not the best time for me to be in this type of relationship with someone. So I think there also needs to be some honesty, and that would definitely overcome any barrier and not leave people with a bitter taste in their mouth. I think some of the barriers also come with people's expectations and nasty experiences they've had with other people, and they just sort of think, I don't want to be bothered. But if they've had a good experience, then it will all end positively.